On India Today's social media handles. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, and today we want to discuss a topic that perhaps hasn't got the kind of attention that it needs to from the media. We're here to change that, and I'm talking about the issue of the CBSE exam results. Every single day there are scores of students who are waking up wondering if today is the day, if today finally they'll get their results, or if they're going to have to wait for a few more days. There's been zero communication from the CBSE. Every single day there's one rumor or the other that the results will finally be declared, and amid this delay there are serious problems that students are facing because of their college admissions also getting delayed, and all of this happening at a time when already we know the kind of hassles, problems that students have faced and the anxieties that they faced because they've had to deal with all of their studies amid a pandemic through COVID. And that's why we want to raise a very pertinent question here on India Today. Why is it that every single year, COVID or no COVID, we have this kind of endless speculation on when the results are going to be out? Why can't we have a clear date that's mentioned by the CBSE and thereby ensure that our students don't struggle as much? And to just give you a sense of, what students have to go through every single year, we've got with us a couple of students who've been waiting anxiously, I'm sure, just like many of their friends and their classmates, for their results. Bhavya Gupta, a class 12 student who's just passed out of class 12, hopefully, is joining us here. We also have Gaurika Bhanot, another student, with us for this broadcast. Also, Mr. Pramod Sharma, VP of Genesis Global School. Appreciate all of you for taking the time out and joining us today. I'd like to start with you, Gaurika. Every single day, and I know this has been the case from, I think, the beginning of July or even before that, that every week they're like, "Is week to aa jayega. It'll come this week, it's going to come today, it's going to come tomorrow." And I want to get our viewers to kind of wrap their head around what you guys are facing, your friends, the kind of anxiety that you're facing. Just give us a glimpse of that.
Well, it is certainly a very overwhelming and anxiety-stricken space to be after the trail of examinations we've had to go through over the past 1.5 years. And I know, as you rightly said, we are having those rumors. They're coming out. The results are coming out on the 15th of July, then on 23rd of July, and it's really a very anxiety-stricken place. And I know for the fact that the Term 1 results too were delayed by quite an extent. And if that is the case with Term 2, then the repercussions are bound to be even greater. So having known that, the anxiety and the fear is even greater because we have the college admissions right over our head.
There's been no communication. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bhavya. There's no communication from CBSE, right, about when you can expect the result. I think the last one has been from the University Grants Commission, and they've said it could take about a month. So is that going to be a few weeks, 1 month? We have no clue, right?
Yes, absolutely. There's no official communication from the side of CBSE as of yet about the duration or when the results will be announced. And it has definitely brought in a lot of anxiety to the students. If I can talk about myself and be it my friends, there's a lot of anxiety going on around the results.
Do you end up inevitably opening the website every other day and kind of, refreshing it to see if the results are out?
Yeah, in fact, even my mom, we're just constantly checking for news on Google, like if there's some sort of clue when the results will be announced. And if I would also like to talk about my own personal experience regarding this, because as a student who's applied to a foreign university and I've got a conditional offer from there, and I just feel that even after the exams have ended, both the board Term 1 and Term 2 have ended, there's always this kind of sword that is hanging over my head, because in order to make my offer unconditional, I need the CBSE scores, and a delay in the same just heightens up the anxiety. And moreover, I don't have any kind of backup option as such, just in case I don't make through. I would not have enough time to think of an alternate path. I just think there's so many students like me out there who are waiting for the results, who want to get into a foreign university or to a private university.
You know, I'm sure you're completely right that there are many students who will relate with what you're saying right now. And I'll again come back to what I started off saying, that this is something that we should be discussing a lot more about how many students are suffering today because of this. Gaurika, are you facing a similar predicament? Because there was a lot of talk that in Indian universities also, some colleges went ahead with the application process, with the admission process, and then they were stopped by the UGC. Some, just like what Bhavya said, you know, about international universities, some have those conditions here as well.
Well, it's quite a coincidence because I too have an offer from a private university in India, and they've asked me to submit by scores by 25th of July, and they're starting their term by mid of August. So we barely have any time to think of any alternative if in case we don't get the desired results by God's will. But the universities are already putting out their deadlines even in India as well as abroad, and that just is it just heightens the anxiety, as Bhavya rightly said.
I can imagine. There are so many ways to deal with this anxiety. There are so many answers to these challenges, but unfortunately, it's clearly not being thought out. And what do students do? If you're given a deadline of 25th July, there's nothing you can do. You literally just have to wait and hope and pray for the best, hope that CBSE actually delivers the results. Mr. Pramod Sharma is also with us. Sir, I'm sure you've heard what these students, what Bhavya and Gaurika have to say. And I'm sure you've heard this time and again from many students about how they're stuck literally in a limbo after giving their exams. This is literally another pariksha for them.
Yes, I've heard the anxiety that these children have. Truly. First, let me clarify. I am, VP is the term normally used for vice president.
Yes, sir.
I'm vice president of the school, so I'm not in operational role. So I do not hear the students say on day-to-day basis. I'm also in a very interesting situation that I'm expected to defend CBSE at this point because please do understand these are exceptional circumstances. Assam totally is underwater. There must be examination correction centers there. What has happened to those scripts? Have you ever heard, just an interesting part, have you ever heard of an examination board accepting that they lost some scripts? Never. So, and with these floods and everywhere, are they not likely to lose some scripts or some examination board likely to lose? But the fact is, what the main point is, that at this time, the correction work at different places in the country must be suffering immensely. And not knowing how to get it together, they perhaps are not being able to announce the dates. Coming to your university, anxiety about university starting and you're not being able to apply, no university will be able to start without CUET results. Now, the combined university, so that anxiety, don't get too many anxieties on your head. Get this out of your head that Indian universities will start without your CBSE examination results. No, it will not happen. And one of you, Gaurika, I think, said about the Indian university, whether they will start and not wait for and you have a conditional offer, how it will become unconditional, all that. Don't have a fear at all. No Indian universities, private or public or any university, will start the classes without your having the result. True. It is, I can understand your anxiety. Every day you go to sleep and think, what is going to happen? Nothing is going to happen. You've done well. It's a matter of few percentage points here and there. That is all that will be different. You already know how much roughly you will get and you will do well. Just relax, okay?
I'm sure that's very, very comforting for both Gorika and Bhavya. Mr. Sharma, I just have one point to make. You did talk about the challenges, and we don't want to take away from how the CBSE or any of these educational boards really function with all the challenges that they face. I very much agree with that. But my question, sir, is on a larger point. And this is, before COVID itself, that perhaps we should have had these discussions every single year. It is that when international educational boards make it very clear that this is the date that the exam will be held, this is the date when the results are to be announced. Why can't we follow that system? Why is it that every year, sir, even before COVID, there would be a date when the exams are held, and then there's endless speculation about when the results will come out? Because what I'm trying to essentially say here is that it helps, it eases the burden for students. It perhaps also largely will ease the burden for these educational boards. I mean, if this year, last year, there was a delay, that's understandable because of COVID. But in other circumstances, shouldn't there be some sort of a concrete, at least a system put in place, Mr. Pramod Sharma, where we believe that, look, this is the date of the exam, this is the date of the results, as is considered to be normal for, any other country?
If my memory is not failing, before 2019, every year, the board results, the ISC results will come out around 25th of May, in the May, and CBSE results would come out around 1st June or somewhere there, because their correction every year would start in April. I still remember April would be the correction year, and by June all the results would be out, and they have been pretty consistent at that till 2019, let's say. 2020, 21, 22, 3 years of this muddle has definitely created this particular problem. I am not privy to the going-ons in the CBSE, so I don't really know what has happened, but I can understand only challenges at this point, and only assure you that don't worry, results are going to come out. Indian universities are not going to start, and the foreign universities also understand the situation, that if the CBSE result is not out, you obviously cannot give the result. So they'll extend when you request them, they will extend your deadline for your submission of these Indian results. So don't really fear. They are also considerate foreign universities. They understand the ground reality much better, and they need Indian students anyway.
Is that the communication, Bhavya, when you've spoken to the university that you've got accepted in? Have they been extremely understanding in understanding the challenges that also everyone's facing amid COVID, etc.?
Ma'am, so I would like to begin by saying that there's no anxiety related to that CBSE results are delayed and therefore we are not able to submit our scores on time. It is just that, for example, they've asked a requirement of that my English score should be this much percentage of, and then if it does, I do not meet that condition, I'll have to give an alternate exam of IELTS. I'm just giving an example. Now, if the CBSE result is announced a bit late, and that is also due to the conduct of the examination that was itself delayed due to the unprecedented situation, that I completely understand. But now these examinations like IELTS or such other examinations, you can't go through them in one go. You have to give them like 4-5 times to meet that condition. And even between those durations, there is a very huge gap. So, if the result is delayed and now I don't meet the condition, or I don't have any other option to go to, so that all those things create anxiety, and the university may or may not understand that CBSE has delayed the result. We can't be completely sure of that.
No, very true. I think your point is well taken. Gorika, largely the problem for all of you, and I can imagine this because any one of us who's finished our class 12 knows that next step of entering a college, you have multiple other exams that you have to take, that you have to rely upon, the dates of which can't obviously be changed. So, there's a lot that's dependent on this one board exam, on these results that come out. There's already endless confusion, term 1, term 2, etc., which I'm sure you're going through. And now with these dates being muddled up altogether, together, what happens to the exams that you're going to be taking? And does it also alter then and limit the options that you have going forward?
I think yes, as Bhavya rightly mentioned, a clear example. But if I talk about the students who are to appear for the CUET examination now, well, there is a certain crowd of students who are still relying on it as a backup option, because they think that if we can get a clear score in our board examination, then we might not have to appear for this particular examination. If it's totally up to them, because if they want to go to a foreign university and their board score is completely meeting that condition, then they can go ahead with it. But this extra anxiety or fear, you say, that we might not meet our requirement, is actually forcing them to appear for the examination. They really don't need it, because certainly the condition doesn't actually mention it. So that's for the Indian students. As for the Indian private universities, it is. I don't think it really matters, because I know that the universities will adjust, but at the same time it also varies to how much they might adjust. They can really shift the opening date by 15-20 days or a month or so, but they can't go on shifting it more and more. So I think that's what limits the options. That's we won't have the considerable time to appear for alternate exams like IELTS, TOEFL, or any other examination.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by, it limits your options largely, and then you have to consider what is feasible, what is possible, and the kind of stress that it means for preparing for those other exams as well. Let's not get into CUET, because that's something I believe that we must have a whole complete different conversation about, and a dedicated one at that, because of the kind of complications that students have had to face. All aspirants who are taking up the CUET exam have also had to face. One final message from you, Gaurika, as well as Bhavya. Gaurika, if you could go first, because we can discuss this at length. We can talk about all the challenges that you guys face. But what do you believe is a solution to this? What do you think is the one thing that the CBSE can do here, or authorities can do here to make things right for you guys?
Well, I believe that the best thing that CBSE can do right now is break its silence and give some official announcement regarding when the results are going to come out. The speculations are endless, and that is what actually causes fears amongst the students. There are WhatsApp messages flooding, spreading rumors. So if we know the specified date, we can also talk to other universities and give them in writing that we've been told by CBSE that the results will be out by this specified time, and we'll be submitting them later on.
Okay, well put. Bhavya, your message, what do you think will help address all of this chaos and confusion that you're facing?
I think a similar solution as to what Gaurika said. In case they can't give just one specific date, they can just communicate with the students, make them comfortable, and just tell them that it's going to happen very soon. Or they can just continuously go on giving certain messages, just make the students comfortable and just reduce their anxieties. Because the one last issue I would like to also talk about is the mental health of students. Throughout the class 12th, it's like we've suffered so much. Like it's like we've given 2 boards, and then we have to give objective, then subjective, and then waiting for the results. It has taken a toll on our mental health. So just by making a small announcement, and as rightly Gaurika said, just breaking the silence, and if they can't give one particular date, they can just make these students comfortable. That's the least we can expect.
Very true, very true. What we've seen in the last few weeks is almost every single day, they first said July 3rd, then they said July 12th, then they said July 15th, which we still don't know if it's going to happen. Now there's questions about whether it'll come end of July. The problem is the fact that you've got rumors spreading on social media. There are fake posts saying today exams are going to be, the results are going to be out. Everyone's then starting to Google, starting to go to the website, refresh it desperately, only to find out it's not true. And the reality is that there's been zero communication from CBSE. The only communication on record has been from the UGC, which says end of the month. Again, you don't know what end of the month means. Is it going to happen, in the last week, the week before that? There's still a big question mark and so much ambiguity. Students this year in this particular term have gone through enough. They've had to deal with the pandemic, with their entire education, the way they give their exams, all of that changing so much, and so much that they've had to face that the least that they can, kind of deal with right now is just sit down, say, hey, we're finished our exams, no more anxiety. Unfortunately, that's not happening, and that's why it's important to discuss this, find a solution. Hopefully, the CBSE also addresses this and doesn't allow this to happen year after year after year. Mr. Pramod Sharma, I appreciate you taking the time out, sir, for joining us here this evening. Thanks, Bhavya. Thanks, Gaurika. You both were extremely well-spoken and elucidated all your issues. All the very best to both of you for your results. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that you get your results very soon. Yes, Mr. Sharma.
Before you close, I think CBSE must have a dialogue, must come with Man Ki Baat with the students and understand what they are saying. And
I completely agree, sir. I think that's the only way we can
release a date
right now.
Yeah.
Very true. Let's hope that the CBSE does that. They need to have an open dialogue and not be so mysterious about what's going to happen.
I will communicate to them.
Communication is key, clearly, at this point to end the anxiety and stress for students. Thanks, Mr. Sharma. Thanks, Bhavya. Thanks, Gaurika, for joining us. I promise here on India Today, we're going to continue tracking the story very closely, getting you voices of all of these students, because it's important to put that out for the likes of the CBSE officials and many others to take note. Thanks very much for tuning in to the special on